Homeland Security Secretary is impeached, but the Senate refuses to hold a trial. Biden warns Iran not to attack Israel, and guess what? Iran attacks Israel. Former President Trump's criminal trial begins in New York. Is there a chance he will not be convicted? Is there any place these deranged pro-Hamas protesters haven't protested, including inside the home of a law school dean? The zany left-wing CEO of NPR suspends a longtime reporter for saying NPR has become zany and left-wing. Biden repeats the discredited claim that Donald Trump referred to fallen soldiers as losers and suckers. All of this and more. Welcome to We've Got a Country to Save, hosted by the Black Face of White Supremacy, and brought to you by my friends at InvestYrefy.com. Invest in America like I do, and by Freedom Chat. Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also want to thank Epic Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. The Senate blows off holding a trial after Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is impeached. It's never happened before. Never before have articles of impeachment been delivered to the Senate and the Senate refused to hold a trial. Hasn't happened in 227 years.
Madam President, as wrong as the majority leader was moments ago in making this particular point of order as to Article 1 of the impeachment articles. Article 1, remember, refers to the willful defiance by Secretary Mayorkas of the law. As wrong as he was in making that as to Article 1, and he was very wrong for the reasons articulated moments ago by the senator from Texas, he is even more wrong, far more so, with respect to Article 2, because Article 2 accuses him of knowingly making false statements. This is a violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1001, a felony offense. If this is not a high crime and misdemeanor, what is? If this is not impeachable, what is? What precedent will we be setting? We need to address this, and to discuss it, we need to discuss it in closed session. For that reason, Madam President, I move that the Senate proceed to closed session to allow for deliberation on this very consequential point of order that he's just made. That's violates hundreds of years of Anglo-American legal precedent and understanding on the question required by impeachment rule 24.
I tell you what this means. It means that never will there be another post-impeachment trial in the Senate at all if the person impeached is in the same party as a Senate majority. The man repeatedly lied to Congress, Mayorkas, got impeached, and again, contrary to 227 years of history on holding trials for officials impeached, the Senate refused to hold a trial for Mayorkas. One of the charges was for lying. And after that, he skated and then lied again. Watch this.
Secretary, is the border secure?
Congressman, as I have articulated earlier in this hearing.
Just a yes or no is fine. Is the border secure, Mr. Secretary, today?
With the authorities and the funding that we have, it is as secure as it can be.
Wow. We all know that this is not a budget issue, that it's a policy issue. Is a terrorist attack inside the United States of America imminent?
Let me assure you, Congressman, that the safety and security of the American people is our highest priority.
Is it imminent?
Same answer.
Let me go back to the question. That's as accurate as it is irrelevant, which is, my question is, you said that the border was secure. What did you mean when you said the border was secure? Is that not a lie?
Senator, you've asked me now if that is a lie, and I have assured you that I have honored the oath of office that I have taken.
In what way was it not a lie then?
Senator, with the resources and authorities that we have, it is as secure as it can be.
As I said, Mayorkas, having avoided a Senate trial, is still lying.
Let's just come back to Jose Ibarra, if we can. You know who that is? That's a question. You know what he did?
I know what he's accused of doing.
Which is?
Murdering a young woman.
And that wasn't the first crime that he committed in this country, was it?
Senator, as I've articulated previously, I'm not going to speak about the facts of the case because there is an ongoing criminal investigation.
Have you read his parole file?
Senator, same answer.
So you're not going to say whether or not you've read the parole file? I've got it right here. Have you read this?
Senator, I do not want to speak to the particulars of the case given the pending criminal prosecution.
Now, I find this interesting because this is a new answer today. You've changed your answers all over the map on this, and it looks like to me you just don't want to answer the question. 2 days ago, you were asked about this in the House Homeland Security Committee. I've got the transcript right here in front of me. You were asked the same question. Jose Ibarra, why was he paroled? You said, I don't know. You said, I don't know. I don't have the case details with me today. Congressman Bishop says, you don't know? And you said, I don't know. I don't have the details with respect to that individual's case, but I would be pleased to provide them to you, Congressman. You didn't know 2 days ago. Now, interestingly, on April the 10th, 6 days before that, you gave Senator Katie Britt a different answer. She asked you the same question. She said, why was Jose Ibarra paroled into the United States? You said, and I quote, Ranking Member Britt, there was no derogatory information of which we were aware. So you were happy to comment on the case then, on April the 10th. By April the 16th, you had developed amnesia, and today you say you just won't comment. So which is it, Mr. Secretary? Now that we have the file, I'll tell you what the difference is. Congressman Bishop didn't have the parole file, and Senator Britt didn't have the parole file, and now we do have the parole file. And now we all know that the reason he was paroled into this country was because lack of detention capacity, which, as you and I both know, is not a valid reason under the statute. And now that we know that for sure, this is right out of the parole file. Here it is. Subject was paroled due to detention capacity at the Central Processing Center in El Paso, Texas. Now suddenly you don't want to talk about it. This is extraordinary. It's also a pattern with you. So let me just try one more time. Have you read the parole file?
Senator, I'm going to give the same answer, and let me say it.
Well, which one? Are you going to give me the answer you gave to Senator Britt? Or are you going to give the answer you gave to Congressman Bishop? Or the answer you gave to Senator Paul? Or do you want to try a fourth one?
Senator, I will not speak to the particulars of the case, given the pending criminal prosecution.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Well, you certainly, of course you don't want to, because it is an absolutely damning indictment of your policies. Let's just review Jose Ibarra, and how he came to be here. On September the 8th, 2022, he was encountered by United States Border Patrol in El Paso, Texas, and was paroled into the United States due to lack of detention capacity. A provision, a proviso, a rule that is not permitted under the statute. You and I both know you know this. You knew it when you were talking to Congressman Bishop. You knew it when you were testifying to Senator Britt, and you know it today. You just never wanted to cop to it because the statute doesn't permit it. And so you lied to Congressman Bishop and you lied to Senator Britt. And now you are hiding behind the ongoing prosecution excuse because it's the last one left to you, because you testified falsely under oath. Then on July 19th, 2023, Ibarra reports for a biometric appointment and was fingerprinted. This is now in New York. The results come back and indicate he has a criminal history. So he's in this country, he has a criminal history. September 14th, he is arrested in New York by NYPD for what? Injuring a child. September 14th, 2023, he is arrested for injuring a child. What happens? The offense was never prosecuted and the arrest was expunged. I'm reading right out of the parole file. Expunged. Nothing is done to this guy. He had a criminal record to start with. He's in the country on illegal grounds. You have falsely and illegally allowed him in. He commits a crime against a child. He's not prosecuted. It's expunged. In November, get this, in November, Ibarra files an application for employment authorization. And unbelievably, on December the 9th, 2023, it's approved. So this is your policies in action, Mr. Secretary. A criminal is permitted into this country on grounds flatly not permitted, flatly contradictory to the statute. He commits a crime against a child, and then he gets a work permit. He gets a work permit. You want to know why all of the jobs in the last 2 or 3 years have gone to illegal migrants? Working people in this country can't get a job. Their unemployment rate's high. Why? Because of things like this. And then what's he do? Well, we all know. Then in February, he commits the heinous crime against Laken Riley. Is this a record that you are proud of?
Senator, you've misstated some facts.
I have read from the parole file, which you have said you don't recall, don't have, you miscited. I'm reading from it. It is right here. And I've just, pursuant to the speech and debate clause, I have just read it into the record. And the reason is, you have lied repeatedly to Congress and to the American people about this. They deserve to know. And the only way they're going to know is if I tell them. I've just told them. It's in the record now. I've read it verbatim from the parole file. Verbatim. I just want to know, why did you change your story so often? Why didn't you just answer honestly to Congressman Bishop and Senator Britt?
Senator, I am confident that justice will be vindicated in the criminal prosecution of the case.
Well, hopefully he'll get more of a trial than you got. Otherwise, there'll be no justice for anyone at all.
9 million illegal aliens have entered the country under Biden's watch. And he has at least 7 more months to go, honestly, to continue this policy by design. Scary. Hi, folks. Do you trust this economy? What if you could receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? And what if you were in control? You could turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. What if your interest was compounded daily, you were paid monthly, and there were absolutely no fees? And what if you could have peace of mind because there was no attack on your principal if you ever needed your money back? Well, folks, there is an investment with all of these features. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return with Yrefy, and they don't care about what happens with the stock market or the Fed. And best of all, they receive their statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investyrefy.com. That's investyrefy.com. Yrefy, do well by doing good. Before the attack on Israel from Iranian soil, the Biden administration made it clear to the Iranians,
Don't.
And the Secretary of State made it quite clear.
Don't do it.
Don't feel that way.
Our advice is don't.
Don't do it.
Don't.
Maybe don't say
Don't.
Well, how did that work out?
A major new escalation in the Middle East. Tonight, Iran launched an unprecedented attack on Israel. It involves dozens of drones launched from Iranian territory.
This morning, the world is waiting to see how Israel will respond to Iran's drone and missile attack from over the weekend. More than 300 projectiles went into Israel, 5 of them making it through the country's air defense system.
Tonight, the chief of staff for the Israeli military announced there will be a response to Iran's unprecedented large-scale drone and missile attack over the weekend.
Now, nearly all of these drones and missiles were shot down or intercepted thanks to a coalition of Israel, the UK, Jordan, and the United States.
This was a huge success that Israel can be proud that it doesn't stand alone and that it has superior military capability. Iran utterly failed in what they were trying to achieve, and that success alone sends a strong message to Iran and to the region about Israel's place there.
Now, Israel has since retaliated. But remember during the 2020 campaign when Biden made this prediction about what would happen if Donald Trump got reelected?
A president who says he wants to end endless wars in the Middle East is bringing us dangerously close to starting a brand new one. Donald Trump, short-sighted America First dogmatism has come home to roost. President Trump has no strategy here, it seems to me. He has no end game. And here's the hardest truth of all. His constant mistakes and poor decision-making have left us, the United States, with a severely limited slate of options. We are alone now. We're alone and will have to bear the cost of Donald Trump's folly. He should stop tweeting so he doesn't box us in with these threats that such that only options left for Iran are increasingly damaging strikes and counterstrikes. No one wants war, but it's going to take hard work to make sure we don't end up there by accident.
That hasn't worn well, has it?
Our advice is don't.
Don't do it.
Don't.
Don't.
Trump, for his part, says, had he been president, what happened to Israel never would have happened.
Before going any further, I want to say God bless the people of Israel. They're under attack right now. That's because we show great weakness. This would not happen. The weakness that we've shown is unbelievable, and it would not have happened if we were in office. You know that. They know that. Everybody knows that.
And now the left-wing pro-Hamas nutbags, and by the way, I don't call them pro-Palestinian, I'm calling them pro-Hamas.
They want you to address this kind of stuff. And I think it begins with admitting, yes, some of it is crazy. Some of it just strikes me as crazy too. And it is counterproductive. And I don't like it when I see college kids who don't understand anything about history, and somehow now the Jews are the Nazis. I know kids love to switch things up. Hey, this is different. I mean, Jews, the Nazis now? Hey, it's different. That means it's automatically better.
And now these left-wing pro-Hamas nutbags are on the loose, and they are everywhere. Chicago.
So I'm going to teach you a chant in Persian that you can use if you ever encounter those Zionist freaks, whether they be Iranian or whatever, all right? Now, I don't drink margaritas, but we all know what a margarita is. We all know what a bar is. So you're going to say, Marg Bar. Marg Bar. Marg Bar Israel. 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 Thank you. What does that mean? Oh, so it has two meanings depending on who you ask. It can mean death to or down with. So can we get a Marg Bar America? We can get a Marg Bar America. Yes, we can. Marg Bar America. Marg Bar America. Marg Bar America. Marg Bar America. Thank you.
This is my kind of town. Chicago is.
Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Good afternoon, dear comrades, brothers, sisters, siblings, freedom fighters. I'm so proud to stand in solidarity with all of you. It is refreshing to see a full room of organizers ready to stand up and fight back. Let's see us on the streets. Democracy is defended in the streets. Don't fight, you can't hide. We turn you in genocide.
If we don't get no justice,
if we don't get no justice,
then they don't get no peace.
then they don't get no peace.
We stand in complete and unconditional solidarity and unity with the heroic Palestinian people, with the heroic Palestinian resistance. From the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
No more money for Israel's crimes.
No more money for Israel's crimes. Education is a right, not just for the rich and white.
From Chicago to Palestine.
Chicago to Palestine.
Protesting is not a crime.
Protesting is not a crime.
From Chicago to Palestine.
Chicago to Palestine.
Protesting is not a crime.
Protesting is not a crime.
Near Columbia University.
Keep it moving, you Zionist bitch. Keep it moving, you Zionist bitch.
We are Hamas!
You're Hamas. Wow. That's a good one. You're what? You're Hamas?
Yes, we're all Hamas, pig!
More Columbia students, and I don't think they were all searching for a contact lens they dropped. me ask you a question. How many of you are concerned about the invasion of privacy that is currently going on by the Biden administration? Biden's DOJ is invading individuals' private messages and targeting them based on their political affiliation, and that's why I partnered with Freedom Chat, a private social messaging app that, like me, believes privacy is your fundamental human right. Freedom Chat has variable end-to-end encryption, built-in screenshot protection, no storage of messages on their servers, and no commercial use of user data. I'm such a fan of Freedom Chat, in fact, that I have created my own private channel that you can subscribe to for exclusive content, including never-seen images, videos, and posts. Simply download the app, or if you're on Android, join their waitlist. Search for my channel and subscribe. No one can see the channels that you are subscribed to or the posts that you react to. It's your own perfectly curated private news feed. Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat. Download the app today and subscribe to my channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. And don't even think about trying to catch a plane at O'Hare.
We have reports that there are protesters here blocking all of the lanes going outbound on I-190. You can see, trying to get a glimpse here. When you fly Skycam here, we can't get into O'Hare's airspace too close. So we're trying to really get as close as we can to this scene. But nonetheless, police are in the area with all lanes blocked leading into the terminals there due to protesters blocking all the lanes to the terminals here.
Google employees staged an 8-hour protest by taking over offices at Google. And it didn't end well.
Yeah, I'm going well. It's getting kind of late.
Yeah,
Spoke a little bit ago. Wanted to ask you,
yeah,
to cooperate. We've been placed on admin leave.
Yeah.
And, we'd like to see if we can do this voluntarily, so it's been a while. So can you do that for us and, move forward in that space, and then you can contact HR and go from there?
Could you get in contact with TK about this?
No, I'm not, I can't talk about that. I'm just sharing what I spoke about earlier, because if not, we'll have to call law enforcement and go in that space and
Understood.
Get trespassed and all that.
Yeah, we understand.
Okay, just trying again. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys gotta leave. You guys refusing to leave? Is
Yes.
that what I'm saying? Okay. You first stand up.
You're fired. Get out of here.
Sigh. The Golden Gate Bridge.
Hey, you get out of the road! You're being filmed! You don't understand! You think I care? You're in the road! Please calm down. Please calm down. You're being filmed.
Just talk to them. Don't shove or anything.
I'm not shoving anybody. I'm getting down the road.
Police are here.
You just assaulted us. We just Thank you. Thank you. Free Palestine.
And all profit to all degrees of economy that are complicit in this murderous genocide.
These are the people on the bridge who are protesting for terrorists, okay? I think this is a result of the kind of stuff that flows down from places like NPR.
Well, people on the bridge would say
colleges.
they're protesting for a ceasefire.
Well, okay, but you got to sort of take sides. We started out with this was okay. We're for Hamas. That was but that was the beginning of it, and a lot of people were unapologetic about that. Then it went to the kids. They dug up some of Bin Laden's old quotes, and they were like, "Oh, this dude, he's got some good things to say. He hates America too," because everybody knows we're the worst country ever. I mean, okay, now we're at the place where they're chanting some places "Death to America," and now we're for the Houthis. Now with the Iran attack, they're for Hezbollah. Okay, do they know what goes on in Iran?
New York City. How about at your own home? That's right. The left-wing UC Berkeley Law School dean holds a party for several law students at his home. Did I mention at his home?
I'm getting please stop touching her. Just please leave. If you don't want to be here, leave my house.
Putting your hands on my hijab is unacceptable. By grabbing my arm, you don't hear me.
Please leave our house now.
Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings upon you all. Tonight, we are gathered here in the name of commemorating our final few weeks as law students.
This is my house.
Tonight is also the last night of the holy month of Ramadan, where millions of Muslims around the world fast, not only from material sustenance, fast not only from material sustenance, fast. We have attorneys. We have attorneys.
Okay, you don't have to get
Excuse me.
I'm not. Please leave our house. You are guests at our house.
This is our First Amendment right.
No,
this is our First
this is
Amendment.
my house.
It is. The National Lawyers Guild has informed us this is our First Amendment right, and they are aware of this. They are not wrong.
This is my house. This is my house, and you're no longer welcome here.
You are not welcome.
Okay, you can call the police.
No, I don't.
You can call the police. I'm getting.
Please stop touching her. Just please leave. If you don't want to be here, leave my house. Please leave my house if you don't want to be here. This is you're my guest in my house.
You are not invited for this purpose. We are talking about Ramadan and the holy month of Ramadan as Muslim students. We refuse to break our fast on the blood of Palestinian people. The UC has committed sending $2 billion to weapons manufacturers. I know, and we're just giving a speech about Ramadan and the holy month. If you can grab me the mic back, I will leave.
Good. Okay.
But will you please give me the mic?
Please, will you give me the mic back? Let me turn it off.
Please turn it off.
I'll turn it off.
You're not a guest.
No, but wait. Ilhan Omar doesn't seem to think there have been anti-Jew protests on college campuses.
I wanted to get a clarification earlier. One of my colleagues asked you, have you seen anti-Muslim protests on campus?
I have seen, we have had pro-Israeli demonstrations on campus.
No.
But
just
not,
a protest that was
not,
against Muslims.
No, I have
you
not
seen one against Arabs?
No, I have not.
Have you seen one against Palestinians?
No, I have not.
Have you seen one against Jewish people? Have you seen a protest saying we are against Jewish people?
No, I have seen.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. There has been a rise in targeting and harassment against anti-war protesters because it's been pro-war and anti-war protesters is what it seems like, correct?
Correct. There has been.
Okay, thank you.
You answered one of the questions of our colleagues across the aisle. You said there has been no anti-Jewish protests. Do the other individuals on the panel agree with that? Start with you, Professor Skizzer.
So I think there have been anti-Semitic protests, so I would say yes.
So you disagree? There have been anti-Jewish protests. Ms. Shipman?
I know there have been a number of incidents, especially one at our law school recently, that the students were trying to call a protest, but it was an event to harass admitted students who were Jewish, and it's outrageous.
So that's anti-Jewish. So the answer would be yes?
Yes.
And Mr. Greenwald?
There have been anti-Semitic events on campus, which I interpret as anti-Jewish.
And Dr. Shafiq, you realize that at some of these events, the slurs and the chants have been F the Jews, death to Jews,
yep.
F Israel, no safe place, death to the Zionist state, Jews out. You don't think those are anti-Jewish?
Completely anti-Jewish, completely unacceptable.
So you changed your testimony on that
horrible.
issue as well? So there have been anti-Jewish protests.
I didn't get to finish my sentence, so what I was going to say was there were protests that were called
That's not what you were asked. You were asked, were there any anti-Jewish protests? And you said no.
So the protest was not labeled as an anti-Jewish protest.
I'm not asking what it was labeled.
Anti-Israeli government policy.
The question wasn't what it was labeled.
But anti-Semitic incidents happen, or anti-Semitic things were said. So I just wanted
It is
to
an
finish.
anti-Jewish protest. You agree with that? You changed your testimony?
Congresswoman, anti-Jewish things were said at protests, yes.
Thank you for changing your testimony.
There is a breakdown of law and order. a breakdown of basic decency, smash and grabs, casual walk-in looting, women and children assaulted in New York, the police under attack for false allegations of systemic racism, DEI, the lowering of standards, a sense of entitlement by spoiled brats for Israel merely defending itself in the wake of horrific attacks of October 7, where men, women, and children were murdered, some beheaded, and all because Israel defends itself? Israel's committing genocide? Do these pro-Hamas protesters even know the meaning of genocide? Are you nuts? Are you mad? Americans have had about enough of supporting companies that hate our values. Tired of compromise? Well, it's time to switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They are an example of putting the cause ahead of profits, and that's why I'm proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're sending the message that you support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our military, vets, and first responder heroes. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team makes switching really easy. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 927-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use the offer code Larry. Join me and make that switch today. patriotmobile.com/Larry. That's patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Let's talk some NPR National Public Radio. A longtime politics editor named Yrefy was suspended by the NPR CEO because he accused NPR of having a liberal bias.
When I started, there was a liberal orientation, but I think we were more guided by curiosity, open-mindedness. I think that's evolved over the years into a much narrower kind of niche thinking, a groupthink that's really clustered around very selective progressive views that don't allow enough air, enough spaciousness to consider all kinds of perspectives.
When the hosts over on MSNBC Hee Haw rioted over the hiring of Ronna McDaniel, nobody got suspended. When CNN hosts rioted over the CNN-hosted town hall of Trump, nobody got suspended.
He said, I've been at NPR for 25 years. Here's how we lost America's trust. And it's just about how this place, which, you know, the show was called, the big show was called All Things Considered. It's not all things considered. He's not wrong. And he pointed out, for example, that of the 87 people working in editorial positions there, 87 are Democrats. Even if you're a Democrat, you can't think this is good.
Here's what Berliner said. NPR lost its way when it started telling listeners how to think. In a very candid article, Berliner writes, it's true. NPR has always had a liberal bent, no kidding. But during most of my tenure here, an open-minded, curious culture prevailed. We were nerdy, but not knee-jerk, activist, or scolding. In recent years, however, he says, that's changed. Today, those who listen to NPR or read its coverage online find something very different. The distilled worldview of a very small segment of the U.S. population. By 2023, he said, the picture was completely different. Only 11% described themselves as very or somewhat conservative, 21% as middle of the road, and 67% of listeners said they were very or somewhat liberal. We weren't just losing conservatives, he said. We're also losing moderates and traditional liberals. At NPR, he said, for example, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. By my count, Berliner said, NPR hosts interviewed Schiff 25 times about Trump and Russia. During many of these conversations, Schiff alluded to purported evidence of collusion. The Schiff talking points became the drumbeat of NPR news reports.
Come on. You know, like, Trump divides us. Yes, he does. But you're doing it too.
But when the Mueller report found no credible evidence of collusion, NPR's coverage was notably sparse. Russiagate quietly faded from our programming. It's one thing, he said, to swing and miss on a major story. What's worse is to pretend it never happened, to move on with no mea culpas, no self-reflection. End of quote. Then he talked about who's listening to NPR. Our news audience, he said, doesn't come close to reflecting America. It's overwhelmingly white and progressive and clustered around coastal cities and college towns, end of quote. As I said, that got him suspended without pay. He later quit. Now, this brings us to the NPR CEO, Catherine Maher, the woman who suspended Berliner. Some of her old tweets have been dug up, and it ain't pretty. For example, she tweeted after Biden won the presidency, "I can't stop crying with relief." Here's what she said about truth.
But one of the most significant differences, critical for moving from polarization to productivity, is that the Wikipedians who write these articles aren't actually focused on finding the truth. They're working for something that's a little bit more attainable, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years there, I actually believe that they're onto something. That for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth isn't necessarily the best place to start. In fact, I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done. Now, none of that's to say that the truth isn't important. The truth obviously exists. It's at the core, or the search for the truth is at the core of some of our greatest human achievements. It can animate and inspire us to do, learn, and create great things. But I think in our messy human hearts, we also know that the truth is something of a fickle mistress, and that the beauty of the truth is actually often in the struggle. It's the reason that we have so many sublime chronicles of the human experience, because there are so many different truths to be explored. And so in this spirit, I know that the truth exists for each of you in this room. It also probably exists for the person sitting next to you. But the thing is, the two of you don't necessarily have the same truths. And this is because for many of us, truth is what we make when we merge facts about the world with our beliefs about the world. Each of us has our own truth, and it's probably a good one.
Make it stop, so make it stop!
And then there's this.
I started by talking about the idea of free and open as some of our founding principles, sort of free and open source, coming from the idea of the open source community. Well, I have come to the opinion and the perspective that free and open was a way of looking at the world that was inherently limited relative to what we were trying to achieve. Free and open has the best of intentionality, but in the end, what free and open often ended up doing, and particularly in the case of Wikipedia, was really recapitulating many of the same power structures and dynamics that exist offline prior to the advent of the internet. And so what we ended up seeing was Wikipedia really rebuilt this idea of knowledge as a whole around what the Western canon. You see the exclusion of communities, of languages, because of the ways in which Wikipedia is based on reliable sources. The idea of a written tradition is something that is particular to the idea of a written tradition, which is particular to some cultures and not to others. The ways in which we ascribe notability often really comes from sort of this white male Westernized construct around who matters in societies and who is elevated in whose voices. And so some of these ideas of sort of this radical openness really did not end up with the intention, really did not end up living into the intentionality of what openness can be.
Oh, you gotta make it stop. I can't take it anymore.
I've eaten things that didn't complain this much.
I'm not even sure what that means. She also had a very interesting take on stealing. In May 2020, she said, while looting is counterproductive, it's hard to be mad about protests not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression founded on treating people's ancestors as private property. End of quote. I kid you not. So, this is okay?
Right. Ain't nothing you can do, though. There's nothing you can do, man, until you call police. Ain't nothing you can do, man, until police come in.
He's not a thief. No, he's just an undocumented shopper. By the way, a former NPR CEO named Ken Stern reached the same conclusion about NPR's bias.
When you live with people who agree with you, when you watch media that agrees with you, it becomes really easy to think you're right and the other side is just wrong.
The crime isn't just that NPR is left wing. We always knew that. The crime is we're paying for it.
So I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Hashtag defund NPR. And while you're at it, PBS too. There's a very common sense reason gold is pushing to all-time highs right now. Actually, there are several reasons. The cost of goods continues to rise despite interest rate controls by the Fed. Since January 21, cost of living up 17.9%. The national debt continues to skyrocket, now above $34 trillion, causing many to worry when the house of cards will come crashing down. A presidential election year that will have massive implications on the future of this country. All of this adds up to instability and uncertainty, and that is why so many Americans are turning to Birch Gold Group. Have you diversified your savings yet? Secure a portion of them with gold from Birch Gold. Visit LarryForGold.com and get your free info kit. You'll learn how to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. And it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. With an A+ rating with the BBB and tens of thousands of happy customers, you can count on Birch Gold too. Just visit LarryForGold.com to claim your free info kit and to protect your savings from uncertainty today. Here's the problem with Bidenomics.
But guess what? It's working.
Really? Oh, yeah.
I think we've got a good, strong economy. We've got very strong domestic demand. Consumers are holding up. Some low-income consumers are perhaps exhausting their buffers of saving that they built up during the pandemic. We're seeing a little bit more distress at the household level there. But generally, households are in very good financial shape. Our financial system is generally quite strong. Things can always happen. There's always recession risk. Geopolitical developments could create risk to our economy. But I think we've got a good, strong economy that's on a solid track.
David Axelrod, a top Obama aide, some months ago speculated about Democrats replacing Biden. There's no way that Axelrod would have said any of that without Obama's approval. But regarding Biden's bragging about the economy, here's what Axelrod said.
I wouldn't go out there and extol the miracle of the Biden economy. It just drives me crazy when he does that. He was on the Today Show yesterday, and he got asked by Al Roker about a very simple question. It was at the Easter egg hunt, and Roker asked, a lot of people are worried that their bucks aren't going as far. What do you tell them? And instead of sort of doing what you'd expect Joe Biden to do, because he's a person of empathy who grew up in a working class circumstance, and identify with the concern, he said, I tell them we've got the strongest economy in the world, and and he continues to do that. That is the wrong strategy. The right strategy is to say, look, we've made a lot of progress from the day I walked in the door as a country, and I'm proud of our country for fighting through this pandemic and getting back to where we've got this much employment. But the fact is, the way people experience this economy is the way I did when I was growing up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. How much did you pay for the groceries? How do you afford the gas, the rent? And these continue to be a problem. And I'm fighting that fight. And then I'd go through a few things that, So I think he needs to put himself on the side of working people in their economic fight.
Ruh-roh, Biden has lost Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
Am I going to do that again this year? That answer's no.
Will you support him again? No!
I don't love you anymore.
And now Biden has lost Axelrod?
I have sinned against you, my Lord. I don't love you anymore. No, not like before. Dirty shame, dirty shame.
Sorry, Mr. Axelrod. There's no spinning your way out of this. House Budget Committee Chairman Jody Arrington said today a family of four is paying $15,100 $133 per year, or $1,260 per month more to purchase the same goods and services compared to the day President Biden took office, end of quote. This is the reason Biden has difficulty answering the question about the economy. I mean, what else is there to say? How can you defend that? Tell that to shoppers.
May I help you, sir?
How much for an order of ribs?
$2.50.
$2.50? How many ribs do I get with that?
About 5.
5? So I guess that's about 50 cents a rib, huh?
Yeah, about.
Okay, let me get one.
Right on. One order. One order of ribs.
No. One rib.
One rib.
I sure am hungry.
Make that one rib to go. One rib? One rib. What else?
You got any soda?
$1.
Oh, come on now. Look out for a brother, man. Come on. Hey, check this out. Why don't you let me get a sip for 15 cents?
My cups cost more than 15 cents.
All right, the cup. Pour it in my hand for a dime.
But hey.
But guess what? It's working.
Let's talk a little bit about Trump's New York criminal trial, shall we? Don't worry. It'll be covered fairly by the media. This, for example, is news channel MSNBC Hee-Haw.
You've sat in a courtroom when Trump's been on trial in a civil manner. Right. What do you detect just from being around? We're going to monitor this to see if he attacks jurors. We're going to monitor this for news. We're not going to listen to him live. We try not to do that on this show, but we are monitoring that. We promise you won't miss anything if it's news. Go ahead.
Here's the non-news MSNBC Hee-Haw viewers did not see.
This is a trial that should have never been brought. It's a trial that is being looked upon, looked at all over the world. They're looking at it and analyzing it. Every legal pundit, every legal scholar said this trial is a disgrace. We have a Trump-hating judge. We have a judge who shouldn't be on this case. He's totally conflicted. But this is a trial that should never happen. It should have been thrown out a long time ago. If you look at Jonathan Turley, Andy McCarthy, all great legal scholars, there's not one that we've been able to find that said this should be a trial. I was paying a lawyer and marked it down as a legal expense. Some accountant, I didn't know, marked it down as a legal expense. That's exactly what it was. And you get indicted over that? I should be right now in Pennsylvania, in Florida, in many other states, North Carolina, Georgia, campaigning. This is all coming from the Biden White House because the guy can't put two sentences together. He can't campaign. They're using this in order to try and win an election, and it's not working that way. It's working the opposite way.
Andy McCarthy is a Fox News contributor. He's a former prosecutor, and he's extremely fair, has been critical of Trump. As fair-minded as they come, here is what Mr. McCarthy said about this criminal trial.
What people really ought to be troubled by about this is Bragg isn't just trying to enforce federal campaign finance law. He's making up his own federal campaign finance law because the two federal authorities that actually do have jurisdiction to investigate these, the Justice Department and the Federal Election Commission, both looked at this and decided not to proceed against Trump because these are not campaign expenditures, number one. And number two, even if you assume for argument's sake that they were, the next reporting period after the Stormy Daniels payment, the non-disclosure agreement, wouldn't have been until after the 2016 election. It would have been in 2017. Bragg's theory here is that Trump violated his version of the campaign finance laws in order to steal the 2016 election. That doesn't make sense legally or factually.
When you've lost Stephen A., you're in trouble.
To my liberal friends out there, all you're doing is showing that you're scared you can't beat them on the issues and the merits. That's why he keeps saying it's a political campaign against me. That's why he keeps saying they can't beat me at the election, at the polls. This is the only way they could do it. And if you don't put him in jail, and he still goes from being the presumptive GOP nominee to the official GOP nominee, and he goes to the polls, even though he was going to whine about winning and being rigged again, you have given more fodder to that argument, which means we'll never have peace in this country because tens of millions of people see what extent the other side is willing to go through just to keep him out of office because they can't beat him on their own merits. And they're going to say, hey, you trumped this up against him again, and we'll have no peace. When all you got to do is figure out a way to beat him on the issues. But you haven't been able to do it.
Now, Jonathan Turley is another Fox News contributor, a law professor at George Washington. He is a Democrat, did not vote for Trump, would not vote for Trump, but like McCarthy, he's fair.
Yeah, everything about this case is, in my view, legally absurd. You know, this case is basically a state misdemeanor that had run out on the statute of limitations. And Bragg was forced, after he declined for a long time to bring this charge, to do so. His predecessor rejected it. And so they took a dead misdemeanor and bootstrapped it into effectively trying a federal crime. But the federal crime here under election law was rejected by the Department of Justice. They didn't feel that this should be charged. So you have this crazy case that's going to go forward, and it's going to turn on the testimony of people like Michael Cohen. And Michael Cohen just recently had a judge call him a serial perjurer. Wow. And he's going to appear as the center of this case.
Wait. There's breaking news in my ear. Donald Trump has been indicted for picking his feet in Poughkeepsie.
When's the last time you picked your feet, huh?
Hey, what's he talking about?
I got a man in Poughkeepsie who wants to talk to you. You ever been in Poughkeepsie? Huh? Have you ever been in Poughkeepsie?
Hey, man, come on, give me a break.
Hey,
I don't know
come
what
on,
you're talking about,
Let
man.
me hear you say it. Come on. Have you ever been in Poughkeepsie? You've been in Poughkeepsie, haven't you? I want to hear it. Come on.
Yes, I've
You've been there, right?
Yeah.
You sat on the edge of the bed, didn't you? You took off your shoes, put your finger between your toes, and picked your feet, didn't you? Now say it.
Yes.
All right. You put a shield in my partner. You know what that means? Damn it! All winter long, I gotta listen to him gripe about his bowling scores. Now, I'm gonna bust your ass for those 3 bags, and I'm gonna nail you for picking your feet in Poughkeepsie.
Go to theepictimes.com and subscribe and sign up for their free newsletter, and be sure to check out their new documentary, The Firing Squad.
Do you ever wake up and realize your life has no purpose?
Do I have a death wish? Morgan asked. Maybe I did. I thought this would be our final run ever. We had made millions and millions of dollars, but God had other plans.
Peter Lowe, the one-time drug dealer turned pastor, along with 2 others, will be executed at 12 midnight local time.
You can be in heaven, or you can be in hell. The choice is yours. I found Christ in here, and he forgave me.
My name is Peter Lowe, and I will be executed in 2 hours.
Jesus is for free, and salvation is a gift. Do you believe in Jesus?
Go to theepictimes.com and subscribe and get on their free mailing list today. As for college star Caitlin Clark, or more precisely, Caitlin Clark's WNBA money, the ladies on the Today Show, not happy. After all, the #1 draft pick in the NBA last year made $10 million. Sexism? What happened to equal pay for equal work?
What's she going to get paid? Because finally, you can get a real paycheck. And then I saw it, and I was like, this can't be right, because this is what it is. And I understand people are going to tell me about math. And
We understand
the WNBA
math.
didn't, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I don't care about math right now.
Okay, now please tell us what a man who's the #1 draft pick gets paid.
The #1 draft pick in the NBA.
Yes.
A #1 draft pick, first year, $10 million. $10,076,000.
Yeah, that.
By the way, this is like picking at an old scab for many women.
What's happening? What's happening with
right
you?
here?
What's happening?
Sitting for many years next to co-anchors over the years and not knowing what anyone got paid, and then discovering that like you were making like a tiny fraction of what the guy was making next to you. Like, I think it's all these old things, and there was something about it. Like, I was imagining the little girls with the signs who were filling the stadiums, who were now obsessed with basketball with signs that say Caitlin, and society, I guess, is saying, well, this is what that's worth right now. That's worth $76,000.
Honestly, the gap is so jarring.
It's jarring.
10 million to 78. It's so jarring, the discrepancy. When we're talking about equal pay, that ain't even close.
I know.
Okay, ladies, here's the math part you didn't want to talk about. The NBA splits 50% of all revenue with the players. The WNBA does too, above a certain level. Why above a certain level? Because it loses money. Now, the NBA generated revenue of over $10 billion, B as in bodacious, during the 22-23 season. The WNBA in 23 is projected to earn revenue of $180 million to $200 million. Let's say it's $200 million. Compared to the NBA's $10 billion, that is 2% of the revenue generated by the NBA. Now, the WNBA has been around 27 years, and it's lost money 27 years. Projected loss this year, again, around $10 million. The WNBA would not exist but for the charity of the NBA. Biden is at it again, this time repeating the debunked claim that Trump skipped visiting the graves of fallen World War II soldiers in Paris and called them suckers and losers.
The one that offends me the most is when he refused as president to visit an American cemetery outside of Paris when he was president. Why? He said that those soldiers who gave their lives were, quote, was his quote, suckers and losers. Suckers and losers, he said it. Who the hell does he think he is? Who does he think he is? These were heroes. These soldiers were heroes.
But Snopes, the left-wing fact-checker, wrote, in sum, the claim stemmed from a story by The Atlantic, which relied on anonymous secondhand reports of Trump's alleged words. There was no independent footage or documented proof to substantiate the in-question comments, and Trump vehemently denies that he once called service members losers and suckers. While it is certainly possible he said those things, Snopes was unable to independently verify the claim, end of quote. And the New York Post then said, documentation emerged in 2020 showing that the Navy made the bad weather call that prevented the cemetery trip from being made by helicopter, end of quote.
You're a liar. You're a liar. You know something that you're not telling us, you slimy scumbag liar. Murderer! You got away with murder, you murdering, lying waste of life! Liar! Tell us what you know, you damn liar!
And did you know that Biden's uncle, who lost his life in World War II, was allegedly shot down and eaten by cannibals in New Guinea?
Back when D-Day occurred, and on Sunday, the next day, my mother's 4 brothers all went down to the recruiting station and joined the military. Every one of them volunteered. And my uncle, they called him Ambrose Brosey, they called him Bosey. My Uncle Bosey was a hell of an athlete, they tell me, when he was a kid. And he became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones. And he got shot down in New Guinea. And they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
He's not your run-of-the-mill basket case, is he? This guy is definitely out to lunch.
Biden said he got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea? Really? Not according to the Pentagon's Defense POW MIA accounting agency, which says that Finnegan's plane was actually lost over the open ocean, not shot down, Quote, for unknown reasons, this plane was forced to ditch in the ocean off the north coast of New Guinea. Both engines failed at low altitude, and the aircraft's nose hit the water hard, end of quote, according to the military account.
Were you lying then? Are you lying now? Or are you not, in fact, a chronic and habitual liar?
California has set up a panel that has recommended reparations. Reparations is the extraction of money from people who were never slave owners to be given to people who were never slaves. This gentleman put it perhaps more eloquently.
California, it has gone out of committee to approve slave reparations to be paid to people who were never slaves, to be paid for by people who never owned slaves, in a state that never had slaves. That's like paying child support for a child you never had, to a woman you never.
Some people just have a way with words.
I had to take these American history lessons where they ask us questions like, who's Benjamin Franklin? We're like, the reason our convenience store gets robbed. What's the Second Amendment? We're like, the reason our convenience store gets robbed. And what is Roe versus Wade? We're like, two ways of coming to the United States.
Hope you enjoyed We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by our friends at InvestYRefy.com. Invest in America like I do. And Freedom Chat. Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat. And remember, we've got a country to save.